Hi, everyone. It's Andrea and Angela here with our 18th self-directed education group call. Yay! Yes, I am happy to be here. I have a question that came up that we're going to discuss, but just to recap, if anyone is watching this on the replay, we do this like once a week or a few times a month, and everyone is welcome to join. We take any questions at all. This is just a free group call just to build community and to keep us talking about what Angela and I are both passionate about, which is self-directed education and unschooling. I've been unschooling for a few years now. My daughter and I are world schooling. So we're just in the present moment, day to day, visiting different campgrounds and learning on the fly as we go. And Angela, you want to give a little intro of your current life and situation?
Yeah. Hey, glad to be here again. Yeah. So these calls, what comes to mind as Andrea was talking is that these calls are titled self-directed learners group calls. However, it's interesting as we get chatting, a lot of times it just turns into whatever wants to come up. So a lot of times that is directly about parenting or schooling. Sometimes it's about like life and how we use that. I don't know. It typically goes towards spiritual concepts because that's just how Andrea and I are wired. So here we are. I think if I'm not mistaken, Andrea, you actually wanted to talk about a particular subject today. So I'll go ahead and pass that off to you.
Yeah, we can just jump right into it. So recently, my daughter and a bunch of her friends have watched the new Disney movie, which is Zombies 3. I don't know if your children are into Disney or Zombies 3, 1, 2, or 3.
That's exciting. I don't know if I can't remember if we've seen it, but I'm excited to show my kids if this conversation, shows me how cool it is.
Yeah. So in the third, movie, aliens, or they're called extraterrestrials, land, and at first they're seen kind of as a threat to the society. That it's based on high schoolers, but then it turns out that they're just looking for the utopia. So it kind of starts off as a little bit of a battle, but then it turns into kind of, oh, we can all live in harmony together. And so my daughter watched it and she asked me, well, what are aliens? What's extraterrestrial? And I was just trying to think about like how to answer that. And I thought it might be a good topic to talk about since you and I both are really into Bashar, who is a channeled extraterrestrial. So I thought it would be good just to talk about it because she knows that one of my favorite spiritual teachers is an extraterrestrial or contacts an extraterrestrial. But then she was kind of asking me questions like, oh, well, do they not have emotions? Is that like which part of Disney is true from what I know about? So I just thought it would be fun to get your perspective and just kind of talk about this maybe for other parents, whether they're, into unschooling or, it doesn't really matter what type of schooling, but how do you answer some of these kind of bizarre questions? I don't know if you'd call it bizarre, but these questions.
Yeah. Ooh, fun. Let's see. You know what? I don't think I have a specific answer on how to answer because from my perspective, and this is why unschooling and self-directed education is so awesome, is that we're allowing whatever comes up from life to lead us into what we want to learn, what themes we want to explore. And it always comes down to the feelings that we want to experience, the beliefs that we want to experience, because that's what's getting brought up through whatever the form may take. So the reason why there's no specific answer on like, well, how do you approach these situations is that it's so case by case and it just depends on like where the child's at and where the parent is at. And to me, the work is always to focus on what it's bringing up for you and then use that for your own awakening, if you will, or your own mental health, for your own spiritual practice, whatever word you want to use. And then from there, however you act in response or in alignment with, the aligned you that makes you feel good, that's always going to be correct. That's always going to be right. even if that correctness, even if that rightness changes over time, as it always does, because we're always changing and shifting. So the topic of extraterrestrials, while I personally find it fascinating and a lot of fun, I know, or at least from my perspective, I'll say, where I'm at, it is not really about the extraterrestrials. It's really about, okay, we're looking at life and we're saying, hey, everything that I'm experiencing is ultimately like my game of awakening. So nothing falls outside of that. So that includes, you know, the topic of extraterrestrials. It just means that whatever we're interested in, that's going to lead us on a storyline. It's going to lead us on a little adventure of, oh my gosh, the sight I just saw, my little naked 1.5-year-old just ran in the room. How did you even open the door? Anyhow, it's gonna lead us on. I'd show you, but I'm not sure his 18-year-old self would want his little penis like advertised online. Or maybe he's gonna show himself. Are you coming here? Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
How's it going?
Door. That's his new word. Yep.
Ooh,
You open the door. You want to go get Dada? Go get Dada. He loves it. Go give Dada this, or go get Dada. So fun. Yeah. Okay, so to bring it back to here, let me give him something. This is so fun. Go give that to Dada. Go give that to Dada. I don't care. Make him have some food. It's basically going to take you. So whatever you're interested in is going to take you on like a timeline or a storyline or whatever you want to label it. And it's not really about the details of the story. Like literally the stories do not matter. However, we're not supposed to like bypass them or disregard them as if they're like useless. They're totally useful. And that's why we're experiencing them. It's just that they're not necessarily real in the way that we make them. They're manifesting for us to go on a little journey and discover more about who we are. So that being said, you could have an awakening experience, living on a farm in the middle of nowhere. You can have an awakening experience in jail. You can have an awakening experience by seeing extraterrestrials and loading on a spaceship and flying away. Like, I'm not sure if I hope my point is coming across. It's that, okay, so it's so exciting, especially in the spiritual community. There's a lot of people who are interested in aliens, and it's been my practice to not make anything special, just to notice when I have the feeling of specialness, which I often have towards wanting to see aliens or like being interested. It seems so special, and that's my little red flag that my ego is placing importance on something in particular, which is always going to be a slight misunderstanding. And instead to notice that whatever's arising in our field of awakening, that's what's for us, no matter what it is. Okay, little guy is wanting to breastfeed, so I'm gonna pass this on over to you because
yeah, sure. If you need to go off camera, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that comes from kind of the spiritual perspective as well. And even from a present moment, from a mindfulness perspective, is that whatever is arising, it's there for a reason and to embrace it. And it's kind of not always about what is coming up. It's about, like you said, the journey and the awakening and what's going to come from that.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And I think, when I get fielded questions, and a lot of times my strategy or my perspective or my, it's like, ooh, that's really interesting. I try to just get like, well, what do you think? I try to switch it off to, well, what do you think? What's your perspective? That's kind of my strategy. But then there is a time where I do explain my beliefs and my perspective. And, it's funny you should say that, because I did say, yes, I do believe in extraterrestrials. I do believe that there is life in many other galaxies and planets. I believe that the universe is infinite, and there's, plenty of other life forms. And I believe that, there's some more advanced than us, and there's probably some less advanced than us. And why not? Why not be a big cosmic family, a universal community that would want to reach out to each other and learn from each other? But I always put it as that I don't put that as absolute truth, because I value that everyone has their own perspective. Yeah, I think, some of the questions were like, oh, are they bad? Are they mean? Are they evil? Or are they good? And I just, I said, well, you just have to see how you feel in that moment. If you're feeling, if you're in a situation and you start to feel scared or uncomfortable, honor that. If you're in a situation and you feel, happy and comfortable, then honor that. It's more about what happens in that moment. If there would be a time of some type of interaction.
Yeah, totally. I think that really I think that just resonates with oh, it's going to be where you are. And that's where where the answers are going to come from. I really like that too. And I resonate a lot with not conditioning my children with any sort of beliefs, and just letting them guide their direction. And lately it's become really obvious that the point is to feel things. So all of a sudden they're watching this movie maybe, and they're seeing aliens, and they're getting excited, or they're getting scared, or they're getting curious. And that's the point. That's literally the point. It's bringing up all of those feelings. And I don't necessarily, I have never experienced a child who was ready to fully understand their own mind, I guess you could put it that way, and understanding that hey, this is being projected for us to feel feelings and look at our own beliefs. That's not necessarily the approach I take with my children. I'm not oh, well, it's because you're viewing reality as a threat, and that's why you have a question of whether they can be bad or evil. That's not really the approach I take with children. It's just more being with them through their experience. And perhaps if it seems and feels good to me, I can drop little seeds. I can plant little seeds of what works for me. But that's always very intuitional, because there are times where nothing even comes to my head to say anything in response. You know what I mean? And I think that's where I like to be as a parent, is to really pay attention to my own perceptions, my own feelings, and then listen there. There's not always a one, a rule book, or this is what you do in this situation. That's how we actually disassociate with the law of our heart, right? Because we're living here now. We're oh, I got to do everything right. And it adds pressure, actually. We can feel that pressure that gets added, oh, I should have done this differently, or next time I'll do this. And I like to let that stuff play out and just watch the mind that likes to jump to conclusions and place pressure on itself. That's actually the work. You see, it comes from identifying that feeling of pressure, and then noticing, oh my gosh, I'm using life to put pressure on myself. My child has now become some reason for me to put pressure on myself. Aliens are now some reason to put pressure on myself. Look how many times I actually do, and that's the awakening that I'm talking about. That's the healing we're talking about here.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there isn't a standard answer, and I think it's good to share our beliefs, whether it's religion or extraterrestrial or, it's good to say, well, here's how I believe, but what's your vibe on it? What are you feeling? So we're not saying this is how it is, and in this family, we believe blah, 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 because I think that adds that is just a bunch of confusion. And if they weren't thinking that, then they're, I think that just is unconscious and not healthy to demand that because you're part of this family, you need to believe, but all of these things, but instead to just leave it open and let them have their own experience, and to be with them through whatever it is that their experience. I'm always I kind of make a statement. Here's what I believe. Here's my vibe. But what's yours? So just to work with them through what they're experiencing. And also it's kind of good just to share perspective, on the topic. Here's where I'm at. And it's kind of turns it into, instead of like a pressure, like, oh, I hope I get this right. She needs to learn what's right and wrong. All of that goes out, that's probably more ego-ish, more in the mind, but just in the heart, like, okay, let's have a nice, healthy conversation about this where it's safe to talk about our beliefs and our emotions, and see what, what this is leading to, what type of awakening or what type of connection we can make, right? So we're focused more on connecting with the child and supporting them through what they're, what's coming up for them emotionally, and with whatever topic.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I like that. I like what you said about, like, even when you are going to share, like, it's okay, I think, to be authentic and share what you think, but it is so helpful, like you said, to say, that's just what I think. Like, you don't have to think like me. Because sometimes, with sensitive kids, you don't even have to like have the energy of this is how we think, but just by saying how you think, they want to please you. And so they want to take on what you think, so they, want to make you like them and stuff like that. So it is really helpful to say, you can think what you want. And I think that is a reflection of a parent who is demonstrating their own level of understanding as well. Because when we look at the unfolding of our life and how we interpret our life, we do see that like the path is laid before us, and everything is very useful and perfect and unfolding as it should for our personal journey. And so that being said, why would we try to like control the path of our child or dictate what that path looks like? So we're actually demonstrating our own, spiritual capacity at that moment.
Nice. Yeah. And the child might actually, they may just say, like, think, okay, I need to kind of agree to please. Or what my daughter does a lot is just automatically go opposite, just to feel it out and say, well, I don't believe that. I believe something different. And then you kind of get like, you get to explore the polarity of it. And that can be, I used to kind of get challenged and worked up with that. But now I just see it as like, she feels safe enough to go completely opposite, to explore the other end, to be different. And that's what I want. I want her to feel confident to express whatever, and not feel that she has to please me or please society or, teachers and all that kind of stuff, for her to be herself and be authentic and feel comfortable expressing whatever it is, even if it's different from me.
Yeah. Aw, I really like that. Thanks. Yeah. And so it's just so beautiful. What comes to mind is the dual opportunities that we have as parents and in the parent and child relationship. Because we are creating that space for our child to like feel safe and being who they are. And at the same time, when our child is safe to be who they are, it can be kind of triggering and messy and all the things for the parent. And that's always our opportunity to like look at where our I don't know, triggers are, whatever you want to call it, the beliefs, the limiting beliefs are. Oh, there he goes, trying not to get flash everybody.
I didn't see anything. I just saw her head.
Okay, cool.
Is he weaning at this point a little bit, or is he kind of just are you letting him lead the nursing at this stage?
Yeah, I think that naturally, I don't know if it's exactly weaning, but it's like he eats regular food all the time, but he's breastfeed. Yeah, and I don't know, I just feel fine with that. That seems okay. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, but he is eating as well.
Yeah, I haven't got the impulse or the instinct to like that doesn't feel right anymore. We'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Oh, we're not going to watch TV right now. Go give it to Dada. Go give it to Dada. Oh.
So I'll have to ask how's we spoke a couple weeks ago. How is summer going? Are you having more field trips, more fun, more staycation? How's the staycation?
Asking. Oh my goodness. Like life just changes on a dime sometimes. I got so not tired. I guess you can't say that. Just things changed. It was like all of a sudden it was like, oh, I want to do this like staycation thing. And then all of a sudden I was super drawn towards helping my husband develop his business. And then also we had an incident come up, let's see, where it became clear that we needed to file a court thing, or like, not that we needed to or that we should, but it was like, oh, that's what we're doing now. We're filing this thing. And all of these experiences are so fruitful for me to really see my own mind. It's like, I hope I can explain this stuff the way that I intend, because the words sometimes are challenging to come by. But it's almost like, okay, so for example, a court case, what it brings up for me is that it seems like a court case typically is one person versus another person, or a group of people versus another group of people, right? And so in the typical 3D world, that would be like us versus them, or this person versus me. Someone is a threat to me or my family or my children or whatever the case may be. And it's just so lovely to be put into a situation where it's very tempting to fall into that thinking. But then as you go through it, as you go through these circumstances, to continuously remind the mind that no one could possibly really be a threat to me, that everything is playing out as it should, and that these situations are purely for you, my own thinking. And it turns out for me right now, what's most relevant to view my own thinking is to actually go through a scenario where it seems that way, where it seems like, oh, really? You're not gonna believe that someone's a threat? Let's see. Let's go through this. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't take act. It's very interesting. It's like, hold on. We're gonna hear things in the background because he's like, you have turned on some dictation on the TV where it like describes everything that it's doing. Netflix is powering down. You're so silly. Okay. Yeah. So anyhow, going through that experience, it like brings up the trigger. And I notice anytime that I get, so I'm actually writing a declaration right now. And I notice anytime I get, it seems like I get tense or frustrated or irritable. Like for example, my husband or my daughter will walk up to me while I'm writing this declaration, and I'll be a little snappy, and it's like, ooh, where's that coming from? And it tends to always stem from, I'm taking this declaration and all the stuff that I'm writing up as if it's real. Like I'm really in it, and I'm like writing this stuff, and then it's like, wait a minute, oh my God, that's not what this is for. And you can tell so clearly when you are falling into the trap because of the way you feel, like every time. So typically from a 3D perspective, you'd say, oh no, you have to go through a court case thing and you have to file a lawsuit. I'm so sorry for you. And in this situation, I'm literally like, this is the best thing that could ever happen to me, because I am literally seeing my own mind pretty clearly. It's being like replayed all the time. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Well, it probably has a lot of layers, you know. I think for me, I look at, because I had a situation that ended up in court, and I just really looked at it as, you know, me, and it was with my landlord, like we just couldn't agree, and the court was there to mediate. You know, it was just a third party to come in and say, to kind of help us resolve, and it did. We never actually went to court. Our attorneys ended up resolving the situation, and we parted on good terms, and I'm very happy about that, you know. But of course, you talked to me through a lot of it. It did bring up a lot for me, you know, of not being safe, and it, you know, and I think so it's kind of layered. Like I think in life, in like the 3D world, I'm hopeful that your situation is also an opportunity for a mediator for the situation, so that you can have someone else come in and help you to come to a resolution. But then of course on the spiritual level, there's always deeper meaning. So it's nice that you can see, see them both for sure.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm going to ask hey, I'm on a call right now, actually recording live. Can you please shut the door? That would be helpful. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for your big heart. And I do feel that. See, I don't know how he's doing that. He's opening the door. How is that happening? Can you please shut the door? Nope. Just nope. Yeah, and I think that's how, so this is something that I'm also processing right now that is I think pretty fruitful, that I'm starting to see a little more clear. This is like where I'm at. So it seems like, taking us back to the alien thing, it seems like we use situations in our life that are interesting to us, or seem that they would be beneficial to us, or whatever it is, they catch our attention. And we use these symbols or situations in our life to take us through an experience, basically. So that's, I would say that it's the same exact thing with the court case, where it's like, okay, events have happened. Now it seems like the most interesting thing for me to do, or the most useful thing for me to do 3D wise, is to, in this case, file a court order, because I think that it will prevent what seems to be happening from happening, and it'll change the situation. However, I know as I'm going through that I am willing to go through whatever life thinks I need to go through for me to be able to awaken. So I'm actually, as I'm dancing through filing court cases, I actually know that I don't care how it goes. Like I'm not using it in that way. However, it's interesting. It still seems like the most appropriate thing to do, to actually, like, it's not like you stay stuck in the muck, I think, or stuck in the mud, as Eckhart Tolle says. It's like, you don't have to just lie down and do nothing. It's like, you just follow what speaks to you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're, taking it head on and being conscious and real on many levels. I think that that's important when we have a challenge or a situation come up, to see it as something within you. So, you may come to some type of false belief and resolve that within you, and then just notice, oh, now that court situation got resolved as well, or this situation resolved. So that's the cool part, when you're that conscious, to make the resolution within you, and then see the resolution in life follow it, and you're like, whoa. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, totally.
It also reminds me, which we talk about quite often. I know that you had posted like a 4-step thing, like when you do come out of alignment, or start to wobble or feel uncomfortable or low vibration. I know I commented on it, and my friend Deborah commented on it. Was it a 3 or 4-step formula?
Oh, let me remember. I think it was 4. It's funny. I actually wrote a 3 at first, and then I was like, oh, that needs a 4th step on there. Let me add that 4th one in. But yeah, let me remember. Oh, it was feel, breathe, witness, and then I think get curious was the last one.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. When you can, it's like a small shift, but it can make such an impact, where you're not just focused on resolve the issue, fix the problem. It's more get curious. So then you're just opening to possibilities, and opening to, you're just opening your awareness with lightheartedly. You're not going in like, we've got to fight this, we need to get to the bottom of this. It's not that type of energy. It's more an opening to the situation. So I loved that. Thank you for posting that. We can make like flashcards or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah. So I think the step was okay. So this was a description of what to do when you are triggered, when you do feel a big emotional reaction. And the first thing that we all do is feel, but it's like,
it's like, just feel, stop trying to do stuff with that feeling. It's like, just feel what you're feeling. And then it's breathe into the feeling, knowing that it's not here to hurt you. It's not something to be resisted necessarily. It has a message for you. So just breathe into it. Don't resist it. And then witness if you can. Sometimes that second step, breathing, can take a long time. That could take all night, maybe. I don't know. But depending on how apparent the trigger is. But the third step is, when you can, without struggle, we're not trying to struggle, witness the thought stream. And this should be something that comes effortlessly. The focus is on feeling and breathing. And then eventually, as that passes, we should be able to witness a thought stream. However, a lot of times, the fine tuning of this in spiritual practice, we get stuck because we're trying so hard to witness it. We're like, what am I know this feeling is telling me something. Can just show me already. And it creates another level of negative feeling. It's like another resistance. Yeah. Like we're actually not fully accepting the feeling. We're actually still in resistance trying to resolve it. So that's why I want to clarify there. But anyhow, witness the thought stream, journal it, do whatever you got to do to just become aware of what's coming to you. And then get curious about that thought stream. It's like, what could I be perceiving, thinking, believing right now that's out of alignment with the truth of me, the truth of how higher self sees it is how I often like to put it. The truth of spirit, not the ego coming in. What is going on here? Then from there, I guess there's like 5 steps. From there, it's like, after you feel good, because every time we bring ourselves back into alignment, every time we recognize those things, it should come as a wave of relief. It should come as like, oh, thank God that I saw that. Thank God I was wrong. Thank God I recognized how I was seeing things and missing the mark there, because whew, Otherwise, that would be really stressful and sad and frustrating and all the things. From that place, do whatever comes to you. You can't get it wrong. Just do. There's no formula, but just do whatever comes from that place.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Geez, that could be like the whole, what we've talked about the most in the group, and it's like an art and a science. I think we can like label out the steps, and that's the science of it. That's the meat. That's the process, right? To process. That's a great way to process. And I'm sure that there are other ways too. But I think it's to in those first stages to to just be honest with how you're feeling, and not try to, well, I shouldn't be feeling irritated. I shouldn't be feeling mad. Like, not let's not go down. Let's just be present with what the feeling is. And I journal a lot. That's how I process a lot. And it really helps, because then I can kind of be the witness when I just let myself just type out how I'm feeling. And then I can read it and kind of witness from there. And then I like your get curious. And there's there's a lot of ways to, really, it's what you're noticing. I'm out of alignment, instead of judging like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling mad or angry or snappy or, whatever the wobble or low vibration is. And then I think in the end, is when in that curious stage is, well, what is this uncovering? What's underneath this? And usually there is some gem, of a hidden false belief. It's been a little while since I've come up with one, but I remember at one point there was like, I was going to get us all killed or some, and I was just like, whoa, where did that even come from? And it was such a relief to release that. And there wasn't, I didn't, I think when you actually do get to some funky false belief that just isn't true, there is a huge sense of relief. And there's no judgment, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why I was getting so uncomfortable. That's why I was getting triggered. And then it kind of makes sense. You almost, it's almost like your you can get into the higher mind, your higher self, your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, from that perspective, and say, well, that makes sense that I was acting that way because that's what I believed. I was just trying to protect myself. And then you can, come back into alignment and, remember, okay, I am an infinite being. This is not, there's not, what is really the risks here? What am I really afraid of? If I'm infinite, then what really is a threat, right? Like what you were saying, that there really isn't any threats. And not that that's an excuse not to act in life, whether it's needing to do a court case or to stand up for yourself, or to tell a to put a boundary down where you need to. It's not to say to override that or just do any of that, but to face what's happening on two different levels, right? To approach the situation and do what's necessary in life, but then to also do the reflection as well.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. I mean, I've posted some quotes, but it's a lot. I mean, this spiritual journey or self-healing, conscious parenting, in the short term, it's probably easier to just blow it off and and just freak out and then be like, oh, I shouldn't have freaked out, and then just never revisit it. But in the long term, it is so much better to take the time to heal and process, and then have that relief and become more in alignment.
Yeah. You know what it's bringing up for me is, so I think especially parents who have recognized like, oh wait, I'm starting to see like a way that I want to be, a way that I think is the conscious way to be. And I want to start acting like that. And all of a sudden there's pressure that's put on the body, or the person. And it seems hard, but it's interesting because I think the alternative, which is what you're saying as well, the alternative is actually much harder because we sit in our own suffering, and then we project suffering all over, and then we feel really victimhood because it seems like we're not in control and everything. Oh my gosh, what a drama to play out for lifetimes and lifetimes. I think we've played this out for billions of eons. I don't even know. That's what it feels like to me. So it's such a celebration to begin to come out of that. But as we do, a big negative belief that also wants to be looked at is that you're doing it wrong and that you have to try really hard to do it right. That's actually, from my experience, not the case. And I want to walk gently here because I don't want to come off. So we just have to be with our experience, and we just have to notice when we're triggered. And sometimes we're going to act that out, and sometimes we're going to catch it. And we have to stop judging ourselves, whether we act it out or catch it. Okay? And that doesn't mean that we become like, sometimes the ego wants to use that and say, oh, well, you're just saying that like I can just do whatever I want then, and I'm just going to become reactive and then just be like, oh, well, I was reactive, everyone put up with me. Like that's not what I'm saying. It's just that when you do react, just notice that you can't really help it. Like you're doing the best. We all are doing the best we can. Sometimes we catch it, sometimes we don't. But the more we pay attention, the more we start to notice our limiting beliefs, the more we pay attention to our feelings.
Oh, your volume is down a little bit. Oh,
dang it. You know what? I do it myself. I put my finger over the microphone. So let me, okay, the sooner we become aware, or like, not the sooner, Jesus, there's no rush. It's like through practice and through habit, becoming aware of the beliefs and the feelings, which is always like, that's where it all starts, is becoming aware of how we feel. It's like a natural progression, and we're all walking each other home. So it's gonna naturally go there. I think that pressure sometimes that we put on ourselves actually manifests more situations that are going to show us justifiable reasons why we should continue judging ourselves. And it's because life likes to mirror what we're actually believing. So it's gonna be like, oh, I did it again. Oh, here we go. And no matter what you do, you cannot seem to get it right and you keep messing up. It's like, dude, do you see that you're in the driver's seat here and you're actually wanting to manifest that feeling so that you can turn it around, so that you can stop giving truth to it. You can let yourself off the hook a little bit. You're doing a great job. We're all doing the best we can. Just let yourself off the hook.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes, the feeling of empowerment and expansion is just so good. Feeling just becoming more aware of ourselves and our patterns, and you just making conscious choices of how we want to be. It's so rewarding. So not to say that it's always heavy and time consuming. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not, but for me, I just feel like there's no other way for me to be, but sometimes I just wonder, like, oh, I post all the stuff about consciousness and being awake and present and mindful, but what's the alternative? And how is that to be, to be unconscious, and like you said, then it kind of is like a downward spiral of like you said, projection, and just continued kind of unpleasantness, but there's always healing available. There's always awareness, that's always a choice for us. And I think that these gifts are going to keep coming. So it's like, are we gonna, it may not seem like, oh, I'm getting triggered, this is a gift. Yes, deep down, like we were saying, like bliss, and then bliss in disguise, because it's an opportunity to know ourselves better, to accept the truth of our being, that we are infinite and powerful, and to feel self-empowered it's just amazing. And then to also to take that and bring it to our children. I think that's why so many parents are kind of catching on to, whether it's through peaceful parenting or conscious parenting or through the unschooling or self-directed education. I think that's why these concepts, these practices are growing and attractive, because you can finally break out of that cycle of projecting your fears, projecting your stuff onto others, and change behavior to things that are loving. And it's a beautiful practice, I think, especially when things come full circle. Like you said, that sense of relief is it's just priceless. It's amazing. There's the bliss that's not in disguise.
No, yeah. Yeah, I like that, bliss in disguise. That was such a I don't know, tip of the tongue thing that just came out. It's like, oh, thanks universe for that one. That's a good one. Yeah. And the reason why I think it's bliss in disguise is because I think we set it up this way. We set it up ourselves, where it's like, we're so stubborn, and we believed in separation, really is what it is. We believed in separation so strongly that we manifested a world that wasn't even real. And it looks like everything's separate and has moving parts. And there's beauty here too, because there's strings of the essence of source here. So there's beautiful sunsets, there's beautiful beaches, the hints are everywhere. But the things where the mind projects separateness cause pain every time. And we set it up that way. It's bliss in disguise, because we were so stubborn. We're like, how am I going to get my own attention? It's like, I got to poke and prod myself almost. It's totally love. All it is love. And when we sit with it, when we actually sit with those seemingly painful triggers, they dissipate. It's not pain. And I joked one time, I posted on my page in my stories one time. It was like, want to know the best drug out there? Try sitting with your feelings and actually feeling them and letting them run their course until they reveal themselves to be bliss.
It's like, that really is, and I genuinely mean that. I posted that after I went through a huge emotional trigger that was so overwhelming. I can't even remember what it was for. This was like last year. But it was so big and overwhelming. It like took half my day. And I was determined to sit with it. I was determined to not avoid it, to not drink wine, to not do whatever, smoke some weed. This time around, my guidance was like, you can sit with it. You're going to be cool. And I did sit with it for some time. And afterwards, it was just like this feeling of like grounded and so clear and so relieved. Again, I cannot remember why I was triggered. So I can't give detail into like some of the perceptions that were coming up afterwards. I just remember the feeling. And then I'm like, you know what? This is the best drug out there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I mean, I like that, relating it to, because we want relief. I mean, that's what we want, I think with, drugs, alcohol, even working out, so many things can give us relief and those blasts of happiness and, yeah. But sometimes just being, like you said, just being with it and watching it kind of, the polarity is a pretty cool thing to witness. And and when you can make it a pattern and a lifestyle, I think that's why we get hooked. Like these, I can, spiritual people, we just get hooked on it, because it's just like, oh, it's exciting and expanding, and it just makes you feel more of who you really are. And then for me, like, then I'll have kind of these synchronicities come in, and it will be like a symphony of events that happen, and it's just like you can't make it up. You just kind of sit back and like it all makes sense, because that the triggers, is just one piece of a big situation that's happening. And usually, like to get to the gift or the bliss, or it's like to decode the situation is like being a detective and solving the crime, or whatever you want to say. It just feels great. So
yeah I feel like you can't really go back. It's like certainly we're going to have triggers when we're in a body. I think that that's what we're here for, is to uncover more. And so the triggers are not the enemy, but you can't really go back in terms of like, once you see, how this works and experience it yourself, you can't really go back. Like it's just like playing it out more and more and more and more. But I also wanted to clarify one thing, that, because earlier I was talking about, I didn't want to cover it up with wine or smoke some pot or whatever might, sometimes be attractive. I just want to be very clear that I have no problem with wine or pot or any of that. Like, I really don't think any of that is wrong. And it's just like what we were talking about earlier with like putting pressure on yourself to be the parent you think that you should be, while there's nobility in that. And I sense your heart. I sense people's hearts in that, and how sweet and how good intended you are. It's like, stop trying to judge everything that you're doing. Like, just be with your experience and really listen. And it's actually okay if you use things in the world to cover up your pain sometimes. And I'm not endorsing that. I'm not saying go do that. What I'm saying is we all do it. We all do it all the time with all different things. So if you're going to keep judging yourself for doing it, it's literally hiding. It's just another negative belief. Like, the whole projected world is trying to cover up our own pain. Like, we're in a body experiencing a world trying to cover up our own pain because we couldn't look at our own belief in separation. So we had to project it. So like, there's no need to judge ourselves here. It's like, just be with it. Get to the bottom of all of our projected guilty thoughts, all of our projected frustrations, and look at them. And eventually it unravels itself. Then do what you're guided to do. If you're still guided to go out to dinner and have a glass of wine, by all means, do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. I don't put any judgment on any of that. I mean, according to Abraham Hicks, which I believe is everything we do, every single choice we make, every action we take is to feel better. And that's, we're meant to feel good and happy and unconditional love. That's what we are. We are unconditional love. And that's, um, you know, so when you're not feeling good, it's natural to want to feel good. So, taking steps, it's kind of like, oh, at least you've got that first part of awareness, something feels off and I want to feel better. And that's great because you've got the first step, right? And then, how that plays out, of course, I'll say the same as you, there's limits and there's abusing substances, and obviously that can, whatever we're using to get back into our happy place, to do that mindfully and consciously, of course, is important as well, for sure, but I like that. And I believe in that what Abraham Hicks says, that everything we do is to feel better, every single choice we make. And
Yeah.
why not? Why not feel good? That's what we're here for, to feel good. And, the same way that separation is kind of the big myth, I think the pain and suffering is that, I used to believe that was the purpose, was to suffer, and you have to suffer and have pain to get to the next level or the next step. And luckily I've let a lot of that go with my like work hard, play hard, old attitude, for sure. Although it was fun, for a while, but geez, things can come very easily. It does not have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle. I mean, it's okay to experience challenges and struggles for sure, but that's not the only way to improve yourself, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You are touching on such a huge topic at the very end of this call. We have like 1 minute left. There's so much coming to my mind. But I guess in short, because it is time to close up,
Okay.
is just that like that expression that you just expressed of like, oh, I think that I have to work hard, or I think that I have to suffer in order to awaken. This is such a fine-tuning thing, because it's like suffering is not bad. And every time you're triggered is completely an opportunity to awaken. However, if you think you have to place suffering on yourself, that's exactly why people send their kids to regular school. It's like, you gotta work hard, and you gotta control your triggers. You gotta control and dictate like what you should be doing and stuff like that. Like that. Oh my gosh. Like, no, it's already happening on its own. Like, don't try to add another layer. Like, we're like masochists over here.
Yeah, maybe we should go into that another time, for sure. Yeah. And it's so nice to be free of that, because once we believe it, the universe is just gonna give more of that to us, and it's exhausting. It got exhausting to me, to feel that the only way for me to improve was through pain and suffering and hard work, and it was unpleasant, and it was so uncomfortable that me searching for my joy got into abusing things and just going way overboard on the work hard, play hard. Everything was hard. Everything was, so it's nice to kind of be much more laid back and to allow things to come to me, because we're a match, and that's what I'm meant to do. So yay.
Yay. What a nice, sweet little note to finish on. I'm feeling quite complete.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck with your situations, for sure. And I don't know if we'll be back next week or in 2 weeks, but I'll just reach out to you, and we'll put another call up soon. Does that sound good?
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah. Excited to hear from you.
Okay.
Thanks everyone, whoever's listening. Hi and bye.
Hi and bye. Yes, thank
Wishing
you,
everyone a happy awakening.
Totally.
Bye.
All right. Bye for now.